Racing in this series is tough enough with more than 60 cars, top drivers and championship-winning teams. Now throw in some South Florida rain and you've got the recipe for action. It's round 3 of the 2012 Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge Series. This is the Kia 200. Yes, it's a wet and overcast day here in South Florida that greets us for this third round of the championship. 2.5 hours of racing coming up here. That's what's on the menu. But before we get going, guys, as we say hi, Lee Diffie along with Calvin Fish and Dorsey Schrader. Just a few moments ago, they had the drivers' meeting and Managing Director of Race Operations, Mark Raffoff, really read the riot act. Why did he read the riot act to them? Because a month ago at our last round at Barber Motorsports Park, there was just mayhem. It was pretty crazy what went on. A lot of crashes, a lot of damaged cars, a lot of expense. And he said that is simply unacceptable. Fair call?
Absolutely. I mean, when you think about that first hour of racing at Barber, it was out of control, sheer madness. A lot of cars had to be repaired, even replaced for this race. I know it's a month later, plenty of time for the teams to regroup there, but you think about the budget consequences of that. Some of these teams will take a hit for the end of the season for sure.
Dors?
You know, we say it all the time, you cannot win the race in turn 1 on the first lap. This is an endurance race, 2.5 hours in length, co-drivers, pit stops, turn 1, throw it all away right there, makes no sense at all. And a lot of cars, 14 as a matter of fact, did just that.
Mark also said it had nothing to do with the size of the field because everything happened in the one class. Kia starting grid will roll in at the top of your screen and we get you straight to some GS or Grand Sport storylines, and it's a pretty happy camp at Phoenix Performance, the Subaru road race team, because that car, that team in this class, it's their very first pole position. Well done.
Well, Aston Martin looked to be in as Joe Foster went out there and was really setting some fast times in the first practice session, and explicitly, boom, the engine blows up, catastrophic. There's no Aston Martin motors laying around the garage area. That car's done, but they did take the driver out of that car and put it over with the 71 with Tonos Kasemets and Chris Dyson. It'll be Scott Maxwell joining them.
And Camaro potential, they won races last year. They've shown speed so far this year, but haven't hit the win column yet. Can they make it today?
More on GS. We join Brian Till.
Well, Lee, you talk about the strength of the Subaru road racing team. This weather is absolutely perfect. Brett Spouty will start from the pole for the very first time in his competition career in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge Series. It's also the first pole in GS for the Subaru road racing team. And like I said, with the weather that we have, the rain coming down, that all-wheel drive system on the Subaru could be absolutely magic. I talked to Brett just before qualifying yesterday. He said he had his lucky pink socks on. They put him on the pole. The question is he wearing them in the race today? And can they finally get a win for the Subaru road racing team? If he does, he may have to give those pink socks back to his sister, Christy.
That's a very pertinent point. Calvin Fish has the same socks on today. ST storylines or street tuner class. It's the second of our classes, and it seems just like yesterday that Kinetics Kias joined this series. Well, now they are dominant, and that dominance continues.
Yeah, 2 runner-up finishes so far this year, but Bimmer World lead the championship. They're looking strong. The reason being is they're very consistent, and now they're focused back on ST only. They're going to be a threat for this championship this season.
A lot of work being done on the Ford Focus, and of course this is only its 3rd time out. It has qualified now third. James Gouet right behind the Kias.
Speaking of those Ford Focus, here's more Chris Neville.
Well, it's been impressive to see what Kia has done over the past 2 years, but equally impressive this year to see the Ford Focus in just the first couple months qualifying 3rd today. And looking back at what they've had this year, Gunnar Jeanette having that big wreck at Daytona, that set the team Multimatic way behind on their development, but they've still been able to log 6 days of track testing, 8 days on the shaker rig. They've developed a new differential for that car, and that's where they found the speed today. We'll see if they can translate a great qualifying session into hopefully the Ford Focus's first top 10 result.
All right, we are getting ready to go racing. You can see the spray. Fortunately, the rain has eased a little bit. We had extremely heavy rain here throughout the day at Homestead-Miami Speedway. Tough luck story for these guys. This is Derek Whitus in the Freedom Autosport Mazda MX-5. Derek qualified really well in the top 5. Just a slight infringement, an infraction in post-qualifying tech sent that car to the back of the ST field. So he said, hey, could make for a good story. I could be storming my way through. So we'll keep an eye out for that. But we've really got to keep an eye on this blue Subaru WRX with Brett Spouty behind the wheel. Right alongside is Jade Buford. Qualifying that car, did a super job. Let's go racing.
Yeah, the question is, have these drivers listened to Mark Raffoff about keeping it clean here? Oh, you see there, you make that transition, middle of the pack, cars are really dodging around there, trying to keep traction.
You'll see a Porsche, a blue and silver Porsche there. That's John Ferrano. Did a really nice job in the Tower Events car. That's his best qualifying performance for a Pro-Am driver. Well done to him. We'll see if he can hold on. And it's an all-kinetic Kia front row doors in ST.
Yep, looks so far so good as they head down now into turn one. Kind of tricky coming off this banking. Of course, we're on the oval right now with some 12 degrees of banking going onto the flat into turn one. And bumping and banging right there.
Yeah, that orange BMW there was very aggressive, nearly going to the side of the Bimmerworld car.
And again, Mark Raffoff, the Managing Director of Racing Operations, just said, you guys, you've got to keep it on the black stuff. I know that's going to be difficult. That's going to be challenging. But if you're on that grass, you're gone, and you're gone for a long time. So try and keep it clean. We know it's going to be tough, challenging conditions, but do your best.
James Guay putting the pressure on the two Kias right now. You see him in the Ford Focus, the 15, the white car in third place.
Yeah, Andy Lally really playing wingman right now for Matthew Pombo. He gave him a great draft in qualifying to create that Kia 1-2 and sweep the front row of the grid in the Kia 200 race.
You may have noticed some of those iMoto Mazda Speed 3s up there. Well, one of them is not. Let's find out more about the 31.
They rolled out, Lee, Jason Clooney behind the wheel of the 31, that iMoto Mazda Speed 3. The car just died. They had to tow him back to the garage. They don't know what the problem was yet. He is back out, but that is huge championship implications. He and Pierre Kleinubing tied for third in the ST Championship right now. They won the first event at Daytona, but they got a long way to go here. They want to get back to victory lane.
Good on board look now up in the banking as they climb up here. This is 20-degree banking when we get up to the NASCAR portion up at the top of the hill anyway. But 12-degree as it goes down. It's progressive banking. The higher you are, the more there is.
Look at James Guay. Dives down to the inside there, trying to take second spot away from Lally. This is like a NASCAR race. Can Lally use his experience? Look at Guay looking for the front.
That is a great drive. Great run down on that low side for this Ford Focus for Multimatic.
Make no mistake about it, the draft fully in play here. And in the wet like that, running down the bottom is giving you a lot less distance to go.
Yeah, Lally was riding the cushion there looking for grip, and Guay said, forget that, I'm going straight to the bottom.
Keep your eye out for car 80 as well. JCD, John Cabestro Dubets for Bimmerworld. He's in the mix. It'll be the next car you see, that blue and yellow BMW. There he is. And the first of the APR VWs. Good qualifying effort from the 171 of Alex Altberg. He is paired up with defending race winner Ian Boss. We'll see if the boys from APR can make it 2 years in a row here.
Yeah, he's had a great start, stormed up through the field, made up about 5 spots on this opening lap for the APR team. Bimmerworld, we talk about them being a championship threat this year. Ran the GS program last year, lost their way a little bit, and now they're refocused and really showing some form again.
Of course, the rain, the great equalizer right now. Everybody out, and qualifying was mostly in the drive for these guys, so this is the first to see who's going to come to the front. One thing for sure, the Ford Focus right there leading. First time it's led.
Let's see what Lally does. He saw that Guay went to the bottom of the racetrack through the oval part of this race course and got some grip there. Let's see if he follows him or stays up top.
We really enjoyed that run on the banking. Tell us more about that, Chris.
Well, race fans know that in IndyCar and NASCAR, we don't run up on the banking when it's raining, but in the Rolex Sports Car Series and Continental Challenge, we definitely do. And talking to some of these drivers, what it's like up in NASCAR 3 and 4 during the rain, they said, you know, right now the track conditions that we currently have with this light drizzle, not too bad. You can still be all the way on the mat in straight tuner, and the car stays pretty much under control. But we have had times today where the rain has been coming down hard, and that's when they say the car really starts moving around on the banking. And Dorsey, like you said, it's progressive banking down in NASCAR 3 and 4, and a lot of drivers say they start working the top.
And one thing you got to watch out for on that banking here, not like with NASCAR, is that, of course, NASCAR doesn't run in the rain. Those painted stripes that are across that indicate like start finish, those are wicked slippery in the wet.
What a great run for Alex Altberg here. He's going to be teamed up with Ian Boss here today. David Ching was supposed to be sharing that car. He had some conflict of schedule, couldn't make it, so Ian's going to be paired with him. And remember the great finish he had. Closest finish in series history here last year, just winning right at the stripe. So Ian Boss will be looking to repeat here today for APR.
I want to give a special shout out to the car 30. You can see that that's being driven by Chip Herr, qualified really well for iMoto. Chip is subbing for Taylor Hackard. You'll be familiar with that name. Young Taylor is not racing this weekend. He was the victim of unsolicited, brutal, random act of violence in his hometown of Vancouver, British Columbia. He was severely injured. He was hospitalized in intensive care. Thankfully, he has been released. He is back home and recovering. And Taylor, from all
problem for the
friends
171, Lee. Sorry to butt in there.
we wish you all the best.
I don't know if he lost a gear right there or if he's got, I think he's got mechanical. You're right, Calvin. He just stumbled. And no power. He's got power, but he's got something wrong in the driveline, I would
I
expect.
wonder if he's lost a gear or something. But yeah, it's a tragedy what happened to Taylor, and we look forward to seeing you back, mate. But for APR, that repeat victory looks like it's not going to happen.
Oh no, this is 2 cars in the top 5. This is John Capestro-Dubets as well. So Capestro-Dubets and Altberg have both been removed from the top 5 on the same lap.
Nico just sitting there like he pulled to a stop. I don't see any damage whatsoever yet. Hopefully there won't be any.
And of course, you know, we saw the iMoto machine go out on the pace lap. So maybe this water that's out there, Dorsey, is causing some problems with the electronics.
Oh no, look underneath. That's blown up, boys. That's oil pouring out of the oil pan. We've got a major engine problem going on. Not anymore. That one's dead.
And our first full course caution, not for what we may have thought it would have been.
Good camera work by our guys out there. Spotted that before I did even.
Non-weather related. JCD, John Capestro-Dubets and the Bimmerworld BMW came to a stop, and this was the other talking point. Oh, that may have hurt. This is Alex Altberg, who made a good early storm for the APR team, but he's been taken out of contention at this point. The defending class and race winners. We'll be back to Miami in just a moment. We are back at a cloudy Homestead-Miami Speedway, but things seem to be getting a little bit better. The weather is working with us here, Dorse, as we turn our attention to this racing surface and talk us around the Kia track map.
One of the rovals we run at here, both road race course and oval, 2.3 miles, 11 turns, very flat on the infield here, but that banking, it is progressive banking. 11 degrees down by the apron, it builds all the way up to 20 by the wall. So a lot of racing room here at Homestead.
We're still under our first full course caution for isolated incidents and separate incidents. We'll tell you more about that in a moment. But first, some important figures on the Continental Tire race analysis for this Kia 200. And Cal, I think probably the most impressive one there is the amount of cars and also the fact that the 35 Subaru continues to lead.
Yeah, 66 car field, just massive entry for this year's championship. And I think the key is 2 hours, 30 minutes. Running like this in rain, you really save a lot of fuel. So the ST cars are always good, pretty much most of them anyway, on a one stopper. If they choose to do it that way. For the GS, some of those guys may have to stretch it too, but again, you may be forced into an extra stop for a tire change today if it dries out.
Got some interesting onboards for you here. Both Kia Forte Coupes, so we're in good shape there in the ST class. And likewise with both Freedom Autosport, Mazda MX-5 and good friends Derek Whitus and Rhett O'Dosky there as well. So we've got
Friends?
Tom Long, good friends. Yeah, good friends.
Good guys.
I wasn't meaning our good friends, I was meaning their friends. If you know what I mean. We're getting ready to go racing again. Things are about to get a whole lot more serious. Let's go. Same positions for the top 3 here in GS. And Brett Spouty, this car did lead several times last year, but these are their first laps out in front in the 2012 season. Look at the Stevenson. Camaro comes storming through to 3rd place.
Yeah, that's great. That's Rob Liddell who's starting the race for this team. Remember, John Edwards, problems there. Someone slows momentarily and stacks the cars up. Everyone gets a run around the outside. Jack Roush in the middle of that.
Yeah, it was the Porsche right in front of Jack Roush, the 83 right there that stacked everything up. Missed a gear if something went wrong there. Jack did a good job not rear-ending and causing further problem.
And we see Nick Longy in the middle of the pack in the run bump Porsche. He, in fact, had the fastest time in qualifying yesterday, but was thrown out. They were using a part on the rear wing mounting bracket that the series officials deemed to be not what was necessary or needed, and really no performance advantage, but rules are rules, and Joe Vardy and the boys go back to work.
And Brian Till is standing by at that run bump camp.
Matt Plum looking at the monitors right now. They're leading the championship in Grand Sport. Nick had that spectacular lap in qualifying. Calvin was just explaining why it got thrown out. When you have to go from being the fastest to move to the back, what does that do to a driver like Nick? What does that do to his strategy to get to the front?
I think he just gets him mad. No, listen, he's a professional. He's motivated, you know, in any situation. It's a shame. We're really sad for the Bacardis. You know, it's their home track. They're here to see us. You know, we had the pole, and but you know what? Grand Am's got to do what it needs to do, and we respect that, and we'll roll with the punches and hopefully make a good show of it.
Difficult conditions in the damp today, but does it get even more difficult as the track begins to dry?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I hear that the weather is on and off rain for quite some time now, so you know that variableness is the tough part. Once it gets wet and everybody gets used to it, then you know, things get a little simpler, but it's when it gets wet and dry that things get interesting.
Well, they're trying to get that rum bum Porsche back up to the front, seeing if they can find another victory like they did at Barberley.
See if they can come storming through. Just to get back to the reason why, as we see a move there, Nick Longy fighting with arch rivals Roush Performance. Those separate incidents to cause that caution, electrical issues on the 171 Volkswagen, and as we saw and as Dorsey pointed out, a blown motor on the 80 BMW.
Rob Liddell, he likes to do a little bit of rallying on his weekends off, so he's probably right at home in these slippery conditions. Obviously hails from Scotland, and the Stevenson Motorsport Camaro, we talked about that team, and the other Camaros have shown potential, but still looking for their first win of this championship season.
Jay Buford gave him a little wave, if you will. It wasn't really, you know, it wasn't the bad deal. It was like, hey, you know, calm down. I know you're there.
There's the lead Aston Martin with Tonis Kasemets behind the wheel. And these top two guys out in front, Brett Spouty and Jade Buford, not saying it's unfamiliar air to them, but it's certainly a privileged position, and they're enjoying their time up front. Robin Liddell runs very high through NASCAR 4.
He picked up some big push there, Dorsey. You could see him working those front tires, trying to get some grip back, so he's got to change his line a little bit, or
I tell you what,
adjust on the car some.
It did, Calvin. It took off.
Yeah.
You saw him grab that wheel, and all of a sudden that Camaro was headed for the wall. Did a good save. Didn't panic.
Problem's going to be if it dries out and he keeps that balance in the race car, he's just going to root those tires really quickly.
Brian, we're looking at the Aston Martin, the 71 of Tonis Kasemets for Multimatic. Tell us more.
He's starting to put pressure on the Camaro, and one of the things that they're suffering with on that Camaro is lack of downforce on the front end. That may be why you see the front end begin to slide up, especially there in the banking. They really felt like the rain was going to help them. Had a hard time finding a dry setup, but in the wet, car really kind of came alive. If anybody's hoping for rain, I think the Stevenson team, CKS, everybody else with a Camaro out here in Grand Sport is looking just for that.
You know, after the season started, they left the Camaro. They gave it that little wing at the back. If you look at the back of the trunk, you can see that little big kick up there. Now that's planted the back end pretty well, but they didn't give it anything in the front to counter it with. So the front end on a high-speed track, the back end pushes down, the front end comes up, it loses grip on the nose.
Yeah, beautiful job there by Robin, as you can see, going around the outside of Jay. Just really at this stage, the racing line goes out of the...
Another BMW problem.
Yeah, this is a tough day for the Bimwell team. We just talked them up in the opening of the show, so their day is getting worse here. This is the championship leading team coming off that brilliant win at Barber. But getting back to Rob Liddell's move, you're really just looking for grip, Dorsey. The theoretical racing line goes out of the window. You're looking for grip in these conditions.
This is the Subaru Road Race team with Brett Spouty, his teammate Andrew Aquilante standing by and really enjoying seeing this blue WRX out in front. Liddell is on the charge. We'll talk more about who he's subbing for on the other side of this break. We're back at a damp Homestead-Miami Speedway as round 3 of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge Series continues. Race leader Brett Spouty doing a great job in the Subaru WRX. If you've just joined us, let's bring you up to speed with a couple of unfortunate happenings for the ST Championship leading team Bimmerworld. This is car 80 with John Capestro-Dubets, a blown motor, as you can see all of the oil underneath the car, and then a clutch problem for the championship leading car of David Levine and Greg Lafouge. A very uncharacteristic day for Bimmerworld. Back to the racing and back to the charge. This man and this car, Nick Longy, after getting the pole, as Calvin told you about, there was a tech infraction, post-qualifying tech, went to the back of the GS field. Nick has made up some 23 positions in very quick time, and he's being matched in parallel in ST by Derek Whitus, who has made up a monstrous 24 positions in ST. So two cars really charging through their respective fields.
Yeah, and I think his teammate said it best. He's probably fired up. He's probably pretty angry about putting together a great pole lap, then having it turfed out, and he's just putting on a charge here, really making a statement. And car still seems to have a lot of grip. Now we're on board with Derek Whitus.
And of course, hit with the Mazda. We're talking about, look, get a wave by right there. 25 positions has been made up. This car was, again, thrown toward the back because of a bracket hanging a little bit too low and deemed too low for the rule.
Speaking of charging through the field, check out this black and white BMW car 18.
Ooh.
This is Ryan Ellis. He's the defending race winner. He drove with Ian Boss last year in the Volkswagen. Now he switched to the Insight BMW team for the whole year, and he is all over James Gouet, our race leader, one side to the other. Which way is he going to go?
He is really working him over, and we spoke with his father this morning, Lee, and he said this car is really good on the long runs. He was probably talking about dry conditions, but in this wet race, Ryan Ellis has been on a charge. He's got a lot of grip to work with. He's doing a fantastic job controlling those slides. Now he looks for a way by. Gouet takes it down to the bottom. We've seen drivers do this, looking for that water. The track is starting to dry out. That'll overheat these treaded tires right now, and the drivers will look for the wet to try and cool those back down again, Dorse.
But Allison, the BMW, watch this run he's got going right now. He's using the draft to pull up behind the Ford Focus. He's thinking about the low side. I don't know if he's going to get that or not. I doubt that he's going to leave that open. But right down to the white line, gets it underneath. It's going to go by turn 1 easily.
He is hooked up. He's just putting that car wherever he wants it to go, driving with a lot of confidence. And this is fun. I mean, the wet conditions can be fun, but when the car's hooked up, he's just drifting it through these turns, doing a beautiful job out there.
I like it when he gets down there in turn 1, he gets his downshift done, he sets the car, gets it in motion, a little bit of four-wheel drift, and just throws it down. It's perfect.
And this car could so easily have won at Barber. Remember, they're running second behind the car that had not made a pit stop, so the win was theirs for the taking, and they went with the leader on a wave by around the pace car and effectively lost their whole race. They should have won at Barber. They had the track position to win. Major disappointment. Can they rebound here today?
Started 11th today and is now leading the ST class. Let's turn our focus to the Ford Focus as there's trouble for one of the CJ Wilson Mazda MX-5s off to the side. Chris, tell us more about James Gouet's car.
Well, before the green, I talked about the differential development that this team has done. When they showed up at Daytona, they had a stock differential in that car. So it was essentially a completely open differential. Great for on entry, rolling the car into the corner, but trying to get off the corner, all they would get was tire spin. So they welded that differential. Daytona. Now that made them give up entry speed, but it allowed them to really plant the power coming off. Since then, they've developed their own differential for that car, what we call a ramp style differential in racing, and that allows them to really kind of pick how much they want that differential locked on entry and how much they want it locked on exit. Much better on corner entry, and then allow them to really plant the power coming off. Dorsey, you might be able to add a little bit more.
You know, that's a very complex situation. The differential, what it does is it tries to equal the amount of speed that the the front tires turn. Of course, this is front-wheel drive car. The front wheels are turning the car, they're braking the car, and they're accelerating the car. If you weld them, both of them turn exactly the same. Problem with that is that the car doesn't want to turn because the inside tire's got to turn faster than the outside tire. So anyway, it's pretty complex. We're out of time. We'll get back to it.
After such a wonderful run at Barber Motorsports Park for the CJ Wilson Mazda team, the 0-4 off to the side of the track, the cause of our second full course yellow. We welcome you back. We're under our second full course caution here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. You're watching Sports Cars on Speed. Let's bring you up to speed because we started in pretty terrible conditions in the wet, and for poor old Derek Whitus, he was right back at the back of the ST field and made up some enormous positions very early on, as did this yellow and blue rum bum Porsche of Nick Longy.
Yeah, there you see Jack Roush really squirrely there coming off that turn, and Longy was able to make the run. Here we see the Subaru, who were the leaders coming in, struggling a little bit to get the refueling equipment hooked up, Dorsey.
Yeah, that's a miscue right there that cost them some time. Watch how clean the 13 rum bum guys do. This is just orchestrated to the T.
Nick Longy getting out, Matt Plum climbing aboard. And a very good stop also by the Multimatic boys in this Aston Martin Vantage. However, there's a bit of confusion here. Look at this. That was the race-leading Subaru. We're under full course caution, Dorsey, and that 71 ducked down the inside.
Yeah, and under full course caution, there's no passing, but it's gone unnoticed, and the race is on.
We're back. That was our BMW race update. Let's get back to racing. And it's quite refreshing and pleasing to see the Mitcham Motorsports Camaros up front with George Richardson.
Yeah, a couple of teams decided not to take that pit stop. George Richardson from England will be loving this weather. He drives in every day over in his home country, but he's going to be struggling here because all the rest of these tires and now slicks behind him, and he's going to be squirming around on those treaded pattern tires here, I think, under these track conditions, Dorse.
Camaro guys were really having a lot of trouble in the dry, I should say, trying to get power down off of this infield flat course. This racetrack is really kind of strange because the asphalt here has a lot of seashell in it. It really grates the tires. It eats the tires up, but there's not a lot of grip here. And the Camaro guys just really had trouble with wheel spin coming off the tighter corners.
Here we see Matt Plum, who's taken over from Nick Longy in the rum bum car, immediately up to second. He's on slick tires, of course, and I think once he gets a bit of tire temperature, he'll lead into that lead of George Richardson pretty quickly.
The 62 is up there as well of Joey Atterbury, and Sandberg is in there. Charles Espenlaub is in there, all trying to get up to speed after several driver changes have occurred. One driver who did not swap out is Andrew Aquilante in that Subaru. What's going on down there at Phoenix Performance?
Well, what's going on, Lee, is they were leading when the full course caution came out, but Andrew, as we look down pit road, it's not Brett Spouty who led onto pit road. What happened there?
I don't know. Brett just said that the 71 passed him coming in, I guess, on the apron or on that apron road before pit lane. But I don't know. It's, as far as I'm concerned, that's under yellow, so I don't know what they're going to do about it. Although it looks like we got out ahead of them in the pit stop, so who knows?
Well, I know it wasn't the stop that you guys wanted either. It took a little while. The Jackman had to stumble, but right now with slicks on in these damp conditions, how long is it going to take before Brett has some temperature in those Continentals?
I mean, everybody's going to have the same issue getting tire temp in the car. We should have a little bit of an advantage, you know, getting up to speed, but it's still everybody's on the same tire. They also have the same track to deal with. Just the all-wheel drive should help a little bit.
Down here at Subaru, they thought they might be able to do this in one stop if it had stayed wet, but as the pace picked up, the fuel mileage went down. They've had to decide to make 2 stops today.
And Dorse, I can update us all that the 71, that Aston Martin will get a drive-through penalty to your point for passing under yellow.
Okay, there's 2 points of rules here, and what got confused with everybody right there is in NASCAR and in oval racing, you drop down in the pit lane if you're going to go to. If you're not going to come to the pit lane, you stay up high. That's all set and fine, and we got trouble here. One of the APR, the 191 and the 15 car. Ford Focus, which was leading early on, come together
behind the wheel.
Anyway, in road racing, if the yellow's out, there is no passing. That's the end of the story there.
So Tonis Kesemet's earned that car a drive-through penalty. The Insight BMW is still going at it. The 16 is there. Now Nick Mancuso started that car. Now Brett Cephus is behind the wheel. One of the race epic Murillo BMWs runs wide. And this is that incident. Just gets...
Oh, 3 wide didn't work there. Guy on the outside pays the price. 65 watches from onboard.
This is the long, widest car.
And too many solid objects.
It's long behind the wheel now.
Oh.
Oh, my goodness.
Gunnar Jeanette got hit by the 82 there.
That was 4 wide with 1 guy sideways in front. That really didn't work.
He will not be happy about that. Remember, they had a great run going to Daytona and had a big wreck.
It feels okay for now.
They're in the braking zone, and Seth Thomas may have just been a little unsighted or whatever and tagged Gunnar Jeanette there and sent him round. So it's catch-up time now for Gunnar.
There's the 71 having served that drive-through penalty, so that will hurt those boys.
Yeah, definitely hurts them for sure. This car, and Chris was talking about it, and I was talking about the differential on that car. Now they have a ramp differential. What it does, it gives adjustability for them to be able to control the amount of differential between the left and the right front wheel. And that makes a lot of difference when you're putting power down coming off corners. It also puts a lot of difference in how much the car can roll through a middle of a corner like it's doing here.
Up front, Matt Plum, after Nick Longy's teammate started last in class due to a post-qualifying tech infraction, the 13-run bum BMW leads. Then Joey Atterbury, then George Richardson and Charles Espenlaub. Look at Tom Long in that green and white Mazda in the middle of this. We go on board now with Tom Long. The Freedom Autosport Mazda, after his teammate Derek Whitus had a storming drive through the field, made up in excess of 20 positions. And we got word from the boys in the pits that the Freedom Autosport guys did a great job on their pit stop as well.
Like a ping pong ball there for a minute, stuck between the yellow light on the banking there means something going on too. I'm not sure what that's about.
Tom Long has not really shown much patience in this race, trying to get back to the front. But this is our overall leader, Matt Plums. We've seen so many times over the last couple of years leading another race. They've had a lot of success here at Homestead, and they've really rebounded very well from that penalty that put them to the back of the grid today.
Look at the front of Billy Johnson's car, the number 61 Ford Mustang, the Roush car before that. He's had contact with somebody. The whole front end of that stove in.
Yeah, he was being aggressive too. He was really running literally nose to tail, rubbing paint with the Stevenson Camaro coming through the banking when we went back to green. Here comes Billy Orblin down to the inside.
Good clean pass there. That's one of the good braking points coming into this hairpin coming on the bank.
Sneaks by one of the Charlie car, the 48 machine of Charles Espenlaub, former series champion. And then Matt Bell is there, Shelby Blackstock in the second Roush machine, Lawson Archenbach and Michael Marcel after that heavy crash at Barber Motorsports Park a month ago. M&M is up into the top 10.
Talk about these BMWs, been pegged back a little bit. They've had so much success over the last couple of years. They've really had some performance balancing. It loses them torque coming off the corners. They say we still get lap time out of it, and we're strong at the end of the straightaways, but it's just that acceleration run, Dorsey, between the turns that's really hurting them.
And you look at top speed, when they were all doing that earlier on, the Aston Martin looked like they had the fastest amount of speed in the straightaway, followed by the Mustangs, and the Camaro was a little bit behind. The Porsche kind of even in there too.
Spare a thought for the Turner guys. The entire Turner team had to build a new car for, well, not Boris said, but for Michael Marcel, and they built a brand new car in just 16 days. It was an awesome team effort, and we'll have more Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge racing when we come back. Coming to the end of our third full course caution period here in the Kia 200. This is round 3 of the 2012 Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge Series. Under interesting and challenging weather conditions, however, so far so good. It's worked out a lot better than we had initially thought. Now, this is what has caused this third full course caution. Contact, watch the mini of Chris Pushka. Gets up there into Guerrero in the Audi and slam.
Yeah, that was really unnecessary. They're pretty much side by side here, and you'd expect the GS car to accelerate by, but the Mini decides to go up the racetrack a little bit. Guerrero had nothing to do with that, and then the Compass 360 car, Tillenius, was off to the outside. So
David Tillenius was up against the wall, had nowhere to go. I mean, he just impacts Guerrero's Volkswagen, and it was a big wreck. And all that because I don't think Chris Puskar really even knew that the car was up there.
And Chris has been handed a drive-through penalty plus 15 seconds for his involvement in that incident in the RSR Mini. On board with one of the cars that has made up an enormous amount of ground in this race, we ride with Tom Long, and Tom is sitting 5th in class at the moment, and the sister car with Andrew Carbonell is doing it very nicely as well. So what a day for Freedom Autosport.
yeah, great recovery drive, but one significant thing happened. We were about an hour 35 to go when this caution happened, and Nick Johnson, the ST leader, decided to take a pit stop. The reason being, I think he's now in his fuel window to go the checkered flag. Some of these other ST cars may need a splash of fuel if we see a lot of green flag action.
They'll be cutting it close at this point of the race, but it could happen.
Hour and 25 to go. Keep that in mind. There's the BMW scoreboard at the top of your screen showing you who is in what position. And this will be a good fight up front. Porsche versus BMW versus Mustang and Camaro. Let's go racing. End of our third full course yellow, and look at that Porsche fly off the line.
Yeah, great restart by Matt Plum. You see Billy Oberlin trying to think about going after him, but then defending from Billy Johnson, who's right behind him. There's some really aggressive drivers at the front of this field.
Billy Johnson had a really good run there, but when he had the speed, he had nowhere to go with it because there was no way that Oberlin was going to let him have that.
Dave Empringham in that Porsche. Look at that silver and blue Porsche around the outside of Lawson Aschenbach.
He's a champion in this division before. He knows how to get the job done. There's just a matter of time before that BGB Porsche hits victory lane again.
So we're up and racing, and there's a Turner BMW in second place. Let's go to the Turner camp now.
Oh, trouble there almost.
Well, right now, Will Turner's got his BMWs both in the top 10. But, Will, everything good today, but it's been a tough month with having to rebuild Michael Marcel's car after Barber.
Yeah, you know, Barber was really bad for both of our cars, but the 97 car took the brunt of it, and it was absolutely destroyed. There was nothing really salvageable from that car. Brought it back to the shop. The guys double-teamed it back to Amesbury, brought it back to the shop, and I went to Kevin Holmes, who's been with me for years now, and I said, Kev, can you get this car rebuilt, or can you build me a new car? And he said, I'll do my best. And 16 days later, working weekends and nights, Kevin Holmes and his guys got it done. So it's awesome to see the car running in the top 10 now, but it's a long race yet to go.
Well, Boris said was giving you a hard time earlier, saying, why can't teams finish a car in the 4 months of the offseason, but you guys, when you're pressed, can do it in 16 days? What did you say to him after that?
Well, you know, now that Boris said has a BMW dealership, you know, BMW and Marietta, and oil changes seem to take him 30 seconds. I guess he's the expert.
Well, Turner Motorsports looking strong today, looking for their first top 5 of the year. Brian?
iMoto looking strong in ST as well. The Mazda Speed 3's running good. Chip Herr, welcome back to the series, filling in for Taylor Hackard. I know that sad to see Taylor not here, but a great job by you. How was it getting back in the car, especially under these difficult conditions?
You know, with iMoto, they built a great car. Mazda puts a Mazda Speed 3 under me, which is awesome. I raced with iMoto and Glenn 8 races last year. It was like riding a bike. You know, I just had my 2 girls last week. My wife, hi at home. And, you know, Taylor's at home healing up, so I'm filling in for him. We're going to bring a checkered home for him. Would be just, you know, just extra awesome for him. So, hey, Taylor at home, and wish you could be here, but we miss you. He's my teammate and a friend.
Well, Chippy T is what they call him now. Chip T. Herr doing a great job today. They'll see if they can get that iMoto Mazda Speed 3 back up to the front.
Well, talking about Mazda and Speed 3 and iMoto at the front, Pierre Klein-Newbing has taken his car to the front. And you may remember at the top of the show we mentioned this car came to a stop pre-race. it needed to get towed back in. It had troubles, got going again. This has been an incredible drive from those guys.
Yeah, fantastic. Of course, they had the win at Daytona, a great down-to-the-wire run with Nick Johnson there. And as we speak, Kleinubing has now lost the lead to Jensen, we believe, but we're on screen now with Pierre Kleinubing in the iMoto car. Great recovery here for the team to fix the car with the fault on that parade lap, get him back out there, not lose any laps, and immediately get it to the front.
This is an angry little group we got going on. I was watching this in the infield. All these guys really going at it. And in the middle of that, of course, is that Mazda that we've watched come from the back all the way to the front.
There's the Aston Martin Vantage sweeping through. Different class car, of course, that's GS. Scott Maxwell is now the third driver behind the wheel in that car. And the 71 is a little further down the order.
Pretty dry racetrack right now, Calvin. I mean, everybody's out on slicks now, complete dry line. But you dare not drop a wheel off it. We saw Matt Bell do that with the Camaro before, right when we were going to switch over to the pit guys.
Riding with Mark Pombo. This is the pole-sitting car. His brother Matt put it on the top spot. Currently in 10th place behind Josh Hurley, Andrew Carbonell, Mosing, Eversley, Cephus, Long, Trinkler, Jensen, and Kleinubing at the top.
Interesting to see what some of these teams did. I mean, it was really much forecast rain for this afternoon. You're going to see a lot of it. So what you can do is soften the car up to really adapt to those wet, slick conditions. Well, when the track dries out, you no longer have the platform available to you. That will hurt you in lap speed. So let's see what happens. Oh, look at this. Boris said roughing it up here through turn 5.
Mixing it up with Alex Popov, one of the drivers involved in that horrendous turn 1 accident at Barber Motorsports Park 2 weeks ago. Pressure on Matt Plum, but he's handling it nicely. There's less than 1 second between the Rum Bum Porsche and the Turner Motorsport BMW of Bill Auberlin. Then Billy Johnson. Dave Empringham has that Porsche up to 4th. Joey Atterbury for Mitchum is up there in 5th. Then Espinal, Aschenbach, Shelby Blackstock taking over from Jay Buford, switching up their qualifying roster. And then Hugh Plum, and then we saw that little bit of roughing up there between the Turner car and the Popov Mustang, vying for a top 10 spot. Still so much to go, an hour and 20 left here at Homestead, and the weather is still hanging around. We're back, Sports Cars on Speed, the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge, and look at this, is a good run here. The B-positive BMW of Hugh Plum on the inside of Joey Atterbury. That's Shelby Blackstock at the bottom of the screen in the red Mustang. These guys have been going at it hard.
Joey Atterbury got on the radio back to his pit crew a little while ago and said, hey, something's going wrong with our car. It's up on the banking. I don't have any power. And you saw right there, it's Hugh Plum just went right by, as of course, a lap before, Shelby Blackstock's Mustang went by that Camaro as well. He's good on the infield, Cal.
Yeah, he's really good, and the car's been really good here today. I mean, again, we talked about that Camaro potential at the opening of this show, and they just seem to be having these little problems that are really killing their chances of getting back to the win column. So here we see Hugh Plum driving through the field. We had a 6-driver tie for the lead in this championship. There you can see they've been in the wars a little bit earlier today as the driver's side door is all taped up there. I'm not sure it's going to hang on for the rest of this event.
Could make him hard to pass on that side.
Let's switch from GS or Grand Sport to ST, and let's go to Freedom Autosport.
Well, it was Tony Stewart who came from the back on 3 different occasions last November to get the championship, and today it was Derek Whitus and Tom Long who come from the back. Derek, we see these great runs from the back. Why do we see that here at Homestead?
Well, we got lucky with some weather, and even though it's a speedway, the weather's slowing everybody down, plays into the Mazda's hands. We're a better braking car, we've got better handling. That definitely helped us. Unfortunately, it's drying out, which isn't going to help us. I think the cars with more power are going to come back. But either way, we're lucky. We're happy to be here thanks to the men and women of our armed services around the world who've been protecting our freedom for the last 237 years.
Well, both those Mazdas have in-car cameras, so they provided a good show for us today. Brian?
Well, Chris, the Kia's putting on a good show as well. Andy Lally right now watching Nick Johnson flash by. And Andy, for you guys running second in the championship, but I can't believe you're old enough that if you actually finish on the podium today, it'll be your 100th podium finish in Grand American competition.
Don't jinx it yet for me here. We got a lot of time left here, but Nick's out there running really strong. I think we're in good position. We've done our final stop, I hope, and yeah, it might be with number 100, and that'd be pretty amazing. I owe a lot to Grand Am. I've built a lot of my career around this series, and have been very fortunate to run with some good teams and some great teammates over the years. And 99 podiums up to today is a pretty neat feat, and I got a lot of people to thank for that. So Now I'm just going to lean on Nick on the radio here. Maybe he'll do the heavy work for me while I get to relax and chill out, and hopefully he can stick it and help me for podium number 100.
Yeah, we just went full course caution for number 11 Smokin', but the number 10 Kia should be good to go all the way to the green. They got, or way to the checker, I should say. They've got plenty of fuel on board.
4th full course caution, and this is the Potolicchio Mustang that we saw involved in an incident at Barber Motorsports Park just a month ago. 4th full course yellow, and this will be seen to. We will clean things up. Meanwhile, there's a tremendous scrap going on in ST between Jensen, Klein Newbing, and there's a couple of Hondas that have arrived on the scene with Ryan Eversley and Owen Trinkler. So we will keep an eye on that. ST has been intense today, and let's not forget the overall battle as well. Look at this. It has been tough in the street tuner class. You got to be tough to survive. Let's bring you up to date with what has just gone down here at Homestead-Miami Speedway on what should be the final round of pit stops, and the Rum Bum Porsche with Matt Plum behind the wheel beat everybody else out, including Bill Auberlin's Turner Motorsport BMW. And you see the Roush Mustang down the bottom there. That's Billy Johnson. He gets beaten out by his teammate Shelby Blackstock. So that will form a nice intra-team battle on track.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone took 4 tires, as you could see, and we've got an hour and 4 left in this event, and that's pretty much as far as they can go on a full tank load. So it's going to be tight if we don't see any more yellow, but they could be good to see the finish here without another pit stop.
Several cars at the front of this field that did not pit that time round. Tim Bell at the front. You've got Ashley McCalmont. Barry Ellis is in there. And then we pick up the front running GS cars. It's time to go back to racing. We've had a fair bit of yellow already in this race. Let's hope we can go green all the way to the checkered flag.
You see Matt Plum, the 4th car in line that really should assume the lead when these other cars have to hit pit lane. So that was really the leader of this race. Once we roll through all the pit stops, will be imminent. There we see Billy Auberlin in the middle of the pack, just dodging around that Porsche that runs wide.
Get off with the outside wheels in that mud. You can't go anywhere. It's actually a good job not getting crossed up. The 2 Mustangs from Roush stables, like you said, have been having a good inner battle between themselves, even in qualifying.
Shelby Blackstock doing a tremendous job. He is really learning the ropes in these GS cars very, very quickly.
Look at Empringham on the inside of Billy Johnson. So Johnson got by Shelby Blackstock, but Empringham jumped both of them.
Here comes Auberlin to the inside. He tucks it to the inside, trying to get the power down. Shelby responds.
Billy didn't like that either. He was trying to block that position from being taken from him, but it was too late.
And here comes Matt Plum, the blue and yellow Porsche on the inside, to grab second back, but he is effectively the leader of this race. And there's action in ST as well. We climb aboard one of the Kias. This is the 12 of Mark Pombo. On the inside, there's his teammate Nick Johnson in the 10.
It looks just like the turnpike here in Miami.
Carbonell we're on board with here. Yes, really wild, Dorsey. And these guys, a lot of these guys now are good on fuel. So this is going to be, let's go for it. You want to have track position. Always potential for a yellow. Let's start to get it back to where you want to be.
Red Odosky started this car, handed over to Andrew Carbonell, who used to work here at this track as a teenager on all track operation type activities. Meanwhile, there's the 197 RSR Honda fighting off another Honda, the 75 of Ryan Eversley, who really had a good run at Barber Motorsports Park not that long ago. Mark Congleton and Owen Trinkler put that car on the podium a month ago as well. Now it's on the grass. Trinkler's run wide.
Yeah, he just got a little bit wide there, and once you get out in that gray area, it's just damp. Dorsey got no grip, and there's nothing you can do. Just try and ease it back on.
That's what I was talking about before. If you drop that right side tire in that mud, you're done. You're going.
Really tricky part of the racetrack through turn 2 there. You just come in with so much speed, just trail breaking it in. When you get off on the wrong arc there on entry, nothing you can do.
Some good teamwork there, and we understand that Tom Long just got hit while running in the top 5 in class.
Was just up in the top 5 and got pushed off right there, had contact with someone, didn't see it yet.
Loses a ton of positions, and he'd really been in the mix, being very aggressive here today. Really just a good young kid, can go a long way in this sport. He's starting to get some really good rides underneath him.
195 Mini stuck his nose right in there as you saw it pop in the camera view.
We've got a replay.
Happened. Yeah.
There's Ryan Eversley just out to the side.
Oh, that wasn't intentional in any way, shape, or form.
Tom just got unlucky here as he tries to recover here. Eversley was completely sideways there as he was looking at Trinkler off in the marbles.
Yeah, he was full opposite lock trying to save his own car, and there was just no room.
Oh, there's another one.
Oh my gosh! Now that was by the 52.
Uh-oh.
Oh, that's.
Oh, he's going to be
that
mad.
Bob McKaylee
Bob
in that
McKaylee, yeah, that's
yeah.
the 52.
Actually,
not the
no,
51.
Dean Martin back behind the wheel of the 52 was taken over. So there was a whole scrap there, wasn't there?
Oh, trouble. Look at him smoke on the right front. He's going to have to pit, guys. He's going to blow a tire if he doesn't.
Drama there. All right, well, we saw that 197 Honda. Owen Trinkler running well. Here's his team boss, Randy Smalley.
Yeah, Randy Smalley calls the shots here at RSR. And Randy, minis, that's what you guys have been known for, but Owen is really putting a show on in that Civic. He did at Barber as well. As we look to the future, are we potentially going to see minis go away from RSR?
Well, you know, these minis, they're the old supercharged models. Time to go possibly to the turbo unit. But we've really had a lot of success with this Honda, and I don't know. We're studying it. We're studying it pretty hard. But, you know, I love the minis. I love the fans. You know, it'd be a shame if we had to make the move, but we need the competitive cars. We really do. Right now, we've got a little bit too many handcuffs on in the minis. We just can't bring them up to speed anymore.
The Civic certainly looking fast in the hands of Owen Trinkler. Been an up and down day for the RSR team, but they're hoping to end up with at least one car on the podium at the end, Lee.
Well, Dorse, Cal, thanks for that, Brian. It wasn't too costly for Owen Trinkler. He was running in the top 5. Last time by, he was 9th, so he lost, say, 4 or 5 positions. It's not all that bad with still an hour left to run.
Yeah, he could definitely be a factor for a podium here today. The car has a lot of speed in it. The question is, did he suffer any damage? I don't think he did, Dorsey, but he hits pit lane.
That's going to be a check over for sure. You can't make any chances, take the chances on it right now. The car's competitive.
Strip his radiator got. Don't see any grass
it
there.
looks pretty clean, really, considering.
Maybe he had an issue that caused him to go off the track in the first place.
Well, they were bottlenecked up down there, and that's an easy place to get caught out. Of course, you lock the brakes up for just a minute, and it pushes you a little bit wide. And once you get that grass, or that gray part you were talking about, Calvin, you're going for a ride.
As he brings it into pit lane, overall positions, Matt Plum, Charles Espenlaub is now running second ahead of Billy Orbelin, and then Tim Bell. Let's get down to RSR for this checkup on this Honda.
Owen Trinkler in the car going up on jacks. They'll take time to put fuel in. It looks like they're going to replace the rear tires. Are they just checking, making sure the lug nuts are loose? Perhaps a right rear wheel a bit loose because the crew member put that air gun on it, and it did look like the lug nuts tightened up a little bit. So topping it off with fuel and making a quick check, and Owen Trinkler will be back on track. Understand there's a full course caution. Robert Stout with a problem on the track.
Well, this may be Owen's saving grace here if he can stay on that lap, which I think he may have done. He was obviously feeling something amiss, Dorsey. That's why he hit pit lane. He had the off in turn 2.
That's worse than I thought it was. Look at that. It's knocked the whole sunroof in, broken windshield for Stout's car. Of course, that hood wrapped up around the top of that. Tough break.
It is not the only time that we've seen a BMW with the hood fly up here. You remember our race leader, Matt Plum, several years ago in the then rum-bum BMW. We welcome you back here to Homestead-Miami Speedway for the Kia 200. It has been a caution-plagued race, and it is far from over with some 50 minutes to go. Question that needs to be answered is, can anyone catch this rum-bum Porsche? It's their home race. Let's see if they can make it a victorious race. Well, Bill Orbelin is the best guy to try and stop him from doing that. Another local driver in Charles Espenlaub is running third, then Billy Johnson and Dave Empringham.
Yeah, Espenlaub had got around Billy Orbelin for a moment, but I tell you what, Billy's driving a really tidy race. He's not throwing his car around like Matt Plum is up front, and that's just going to wear the tires down. I think with that caution, it should have helped out these GS cars that were a bit tight on fuel to get to the finish.
Let's give a shout out for Brian Sellers. We haven't seen Brian yet. He's taken over from team owner Mark Bowden. It'll be that blue, black and white BMW. You can see midfield there, mid-frame I should say. Brian's done a good job to get it up to 6th ahead of Andrew Aquilante in that 35 Subaru.
Yeah, Aquilani's coming back at these boys, Lee.
This fight's far from over. Far from over. And then you've got Matt Bell, Lawson Aschenbach, Todd Snyder in the 79 Mustang doing a nice job as well. And then Boris said making his way up through the field. Look at this. Billy Johnson and Dave Empringham going blow for blow.
Remember when Empringham did that to Johnson just a little while ago? That's a payback, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I'm not sure where David was going to go there with Billy on the inside, but certainly was trying to make his feelings felt.
Calvin mentioned earlier in the broadcast that Dave Empringham is a champion in this series. Let's not forget the fact Dave Empringham won the very first Daytona prototype race ever back in 2003 at the World Center of Racing at Daytona. They didn't win the race overall that year, if you remember, but he and Scott Maxwell and David Brabham one in that Multimatic Ford.
These guys would be well advised not to continue pushing and shoving each other because they're going to lose grip with the fact that the lead cars are getting away.
Yeah, David Amp is just solid as a rock. I mean, you just know you're going to plug and play with him. He's going to get the job done. But look at Andrew Akalani. This Subaru, it was certainly very good at the start of this race in the damp conditions, but in the dry, had the pole position. He's starting to show some form right now, putting the pressure on Sellers.
And I wouldn't count out another sprinkle by any means. I mean, this weather system is still on top of us. Dry right now, but that's no guarantee.
Nice move. Aquilante set that up early, drew alongside Brian Sellers, puts the Subaru WRX up one position higher. If you want to name and list the problems that have plagued that team, it goes on from electronics to various things. However, team owner Joe Aquilante said, hey, it's only a matter of time till we get all of our ducks in a row, so to speak, and we know the potential of this car.
Car has the speed, it just hasn't had reliability, and it's not the same thing breaking every week, which is frustrating because they're developing a car and they're working their way through all the issues, but the issues have been plentiful.
Martin Jensen now leads in ST. Now these two cars that are running 1-2, Nick Johnson's coming up on these guys. Remember, he had that other pit stop. He's got 10 more laps of fuel on board, so it's going to be a big question mark for those two leading ST cars if they're good on fuel. And Nick Johnson is coming at them hard anyway.
Chris, tell us more about this Insight BMW.
Well, you guys were just talking about teams developing their own cars. So this is the first year that Insight Racing has built their own BMW. So things going really well for them this weekend. At Barber, they finished 28th, so they're hoping that they can get not only a top 10, maybe a top 5, maybe even the win here today. Just checked in with the team, and Calvin, they said with this last caution, they are good to go on fuel. Brian?
Well, they may be good to go on fuel, but the team behind them is going to be gambling as well. That's the 31 driven by Pierre Kleinubing, the iMoto Mazda Speed 3. Checked in with that team, and they said, we're going for it. We need those points. They're third in the championship right now. Did not have the finish they wanted at Barber. They did win the first round at Daytona. They're going to see if they can come away with another victory here at Homestead with a little fuel gamble.
And behind him, as Calvin mentioned, Nick Johnson, then the fellow Kinetic driver in Mark Pombo. Ryan Eversley has recovered from that incident earlier to be in the top 5. Then Dyer, Carbonell, Altberg, Corey Friedman's up to 9th, and then Mosing in the top 10. That's how it looks in ST. Terry Borchell has done a nice job too to get that Burton Racing BMW just outside the top 10 in 11th.
Well, the good thing for Nick Johnson is looking at the big picture, and I'm sure the team on the radio will be telling him this, that the championship leaders are out. And Nick is all about winning championships. They had that brilliant ST championship win last year, ably assisted by Andy Lally initially, then Michael Gallardi, and he'll be thinking big picture and just watching those leaders. If he's got enough, he'll go for it, but just big points on the day for him.
Look at the front end of Mark Pombo's Kia right there, the 12. Oh, we had contact, I think, right there.
Was that Eversley that went off?
Yep.
There was a car off. There was a Compass 360 car off to the side of that shot out in the grass.
That might have been Burrows potentially.
Couldn't tell who that was. I mean, they were all together when we popped on board with long gear. Look at the right front. We still got smoke coming out of the front. Here, let's see what happened right here. These two got together. It wasn't long at all.
77 it was. So Zach Lutz out wide.
But for Tom Long, I'm really worried about our onboard. You're looking at that right front. It's still rubbing quite hard. Here's the replay again. Well, Robin's racing.
That's right, just pushed him out wide. That's a trick. You don't want to be on the outside of that corner today. It looks like you're going to be taken advantage of.
Only the second race for Matt Plum, Nick Longy, and their team leader Joe Vardy. This is in this Porsche. This is a huge weekend for these guys. I mentioned earlier it's a local race for team owner Lou Bacardi. They've got some 60 guests here in a corporate suite, and this would be a monstrous day if they can put together this win. So far, so good. Matt has a 2.5 second lead over Bill Auberlin last time by.
And that car has looked so strong, Calvin. I mean, watch him as he go around here. No slipping, no sliding, totally stuck to this racetrack. And really good drivers and really good race team, good strategists. I mean, this is lacking nothing.
And I think you may see a bit of a Porsche movement coming. There are about 3 new 2012 Porsches being built right now. We may even see them at the next round at New Jersey Motorsports Park. Friday. And if you thought you just saw maybe a little bit of a smoke haze, you did, as Matt Plum went flashing through it. Sadly, we have lost another Aston Martin Vantage. This is the third one here this weekend, but it's the second one to lose an engine.
Look underneath again, Calvin. You can see the oil or the water dripping down there. These are huge, expensive explosions.
You got that right.
You know, I mean, when they. Now, I'm not going to just say about Aston, but this last 2 days here at Homestead-Miami Speedway has had a lot of engine problems. We probably lost 9, 10 engines. Pretty unusual to have that happen.
Camaro's lost a couple. I think they had a pretty aggressive
BMW
mapping that they changed for today's race.
Aston's, BMW, you know, the Camaro problems.
So day done for Chris Wilson and Tim Fox, unfortunately. The fight goes on in GS, and this Subaru is closing in on the Charlie car. That's Charles Espinal behind the wheel. Charles Putman is down in pit lane.
Yeah, Lee and the two Charles, they shared the GS championship back in 2010. But Charlie, you're watching your teammate right now fight with a Mustang and two Porsches. These Porsches are so strong this year. What have they figured out?
Well, the Porsches, of course, have a new package this year that they're allowed with the bigger motor. The real thing that's getting us, I think, that we see at this point of the race is they're quite a bit lighter than we are, about 300 pounds lighter. On the same tire, it takes its wear and tear. You can't overcome the physics of weight stopping against tire patch. So as the stint goes on longer like it is right now, we're starting to run out of tire a little bit. They're still as strong as they were at the start of the stint.
So are you saying Charles doesn't have anything for these guys late in the race?
I'm afraid probably not today. We're kind of doing a rain dance here, hoping the rain will come back, give us a little bit of equalization.
Well, he's still got his fingers crossed.
Another car moving forward out there is the Jack Rouse Jr. and Billy Johnson Mustang. And Jack, Billy really moving forward, but I'm looking up in the sky right now. I'm seeing these clouds come in, easy for me to say. The rain comes back. Is that good for you guys, bad for you guys?
Probably not great. It's I think even in the dry, it's going to be really challenging for us. It's I think what we're seeing isn't so much the car, but honestly the rules at this point. I think we're doing as well as we can expect, but it's hard right now with where the rules are.
It's a tough fight right now. Billy Johnson going forward. I am looking up. I'm seeing the clouds come, and I got it out that time without stuttering on my tongue. And so, Calvin, you can stop giggling now, bud.
It wasn't me.
And the 12 has gone off. This is one of the Kia Forte coupes from Kinetic.
And look at the rain on the windscreen. Yeah. That might be the reason it went off. Caught off guard down in turn one.
Mark Pombo has gathered it back up. And look, shows you how heavily the rain is falling here.
Yeah, now we're going to have a scurry pit lane, I would think, here in a lap or so. If it rains hard like it looks like it's about to. It's dark outside.
Just a little over half an hour to go. The rain has not yet reached the front stretch, as you can see.
Nick Johnson, we talked about him closing in on the leaders. He's lost a little bit of pace over the last 10 minutes of this race. Now, Ryan Eversley has really given him a hard time for that final spot on the podium. So I don't think this is strategy. It just seems on this last set of tires, Nick Johnson doesn't have the pace in the Kia right now.
Now you got to wonder if it does rain hard. Of course, that's going to change this whole thing up again. Who's going to stay out how long when it starts to get slippery?
Tom Dyer's doing a nice job too, a little further back in the Mazda. We'll keep an eye on him. He's one of those iMoto Mazda campaigners. Meanwhile, Eversley is relentless here. We saw him caught up in that incident earlier with Tom Long when he went off the track and then came back on. Whether Ryan Eversley was distracted by Owen Trinkler going off or not, who knows. Meanwhile, there's a car that's doing good things out on track. It's in second place at the moment overall, and in GS, it's Dave Empringham as we see Eversley execute the pass. What about his teammate, John Ferrano? Qualified well, raced well. Here's the man now.
Yeah, and he and David ran real well at Barber. They were maybe a little bit overshadowed by the Porsche that won the race, but finishing fourth there. And John, right now, the skies are starting to open up. We're getting some more rain. That's good for David because he's a Canadian.
Well, it's good for David, but if we all have to pit again, it's not so good. We were hoping for green flag running right to the end. We're in good shape right now, but let's see what happens.
Now, he's been running down Matt Plum there the last few laps. Does he have something for that rum-bum Porsche?
I think that's about all he has right now, but he's giving it his all. So we'll see what happens to the end, and hopefully he can run him down some more and make a real good fight to the end.
This team very strong at Barber and looking good today too.
One of the really encouraging things about sports car racing is when you see Pro-Am drivers doing well, and John Ferrano did that. Is it day done here for Mark Pombo? What's the story?
That's a shame for sure. He was off. We saw that before. Now it looks like he has an issue. Let's listen in here.
Brian, what's the deal with the Pombo car?
Checked in with Matt in pit lane, and he said the car was cutting out. The last time they came by, I saw a lot of brake lock up into turn one, and it seems like maybe the engine had just stopped for a second. Those front wheels locked, so some type of an issue right now on the 12 car.
Got it going again. He might have cycled it by turning off the ignition and back on, which will reset the computer. It could be a computer issue. We're just speculating, of course.
We have a replay for you, and let's take a listen.
Oh, he locked it up. You heard that. It's dead. No ignition or something there. You heard him lock it up when he came down in there for the downshift, Calvin.
I think because the engine wasn't running and he tried to do a downshift and it just sort of like locked the wheels up because there was no engine really to work with there.
So we get back to things here on track as they stand. Guys, before this race started, Brett Spouty, the pole sitter, told me that Subaru WRX, contrary to popular thought and belief, is not all that good in the solid rain, but in mixed conditions, that's where it excels. Is this the time for that Subaru to shine?
Well, I think they need it to keep raining because it looks like it's drying out quickly again. And on that last lap, Matt Plum only lost about a quarter of a second to David Empringham. So both those guys feeling out the grip, and now the pace is reduced a little bit. So it looks like the track is starting to dry out. So for Aquilani, I think to have a chance at a win here today, certainly a podium may be on the cards, a win. He needs a little bit more rain in his future.
And it actually only rained hard down like in the turn one area through the first third of the infield. And then once you start back on that back straightaway, it didn't get wet over there. And so you got a little bit of room right here is where it was wet.
The other thing to think about with these guys too, they're the lone soldiers. They campaign this car alone. No other WRXs out there to share data, to talk to teams. There's no sister car. They're doing it all by themselves, Brian.
I just checked with Brett Spouty, and he said this is the kind of weather that we want. It's the weather that other teams suffer in, but with this symmetrical all-wheel drive system that we have, when it's damp like this, we can stay on slicks. And Calvin, you're right, it's starting to clear up a little bit, so perhaps it's not going to be as big of a help as it would have been, but anytime the racetrack gets slicks, that Subaru is going to be moving forward.
He's really strong through that section 2, 3, 4, and 5, Dorsey. That's where he makes up a lot of ground.
Billy Johnson takes the defensive line, blocks that channel of opportunity there, but we've still got 31 minutes of racing to go here in southern Florida. Stick around.
Welcome back to the Kia 200 at Homestead-Miami Speedway. We had a rain shower about 10 minutes ago, but nothing that lasted long enough. The teams had to go back over to rain tires. Got this caution that's hopefully going to be finished up here in the next few minutes, and Ryan Ellis chewing through his fingernails. We've got about 20 minutes left. You and Ian Boss won this race last year with a last lap pass. You think you can hold this thing off and get 2 in a row?
It's definitely looking real good. I'm really happy with how the cars performed. This is a new platform for myself and Inside Racing. Last year they ran the 3 Series, and I ran the Volkswagen GTI with APRs, and I'm really happy to be with Martin Jensen this weekend. Unfortunately, we lost Tyler McQuarrie for the latter half of the season, but I'm really happy, and it looks like the car's running really good.
You had a great year last year, leading every race but Mid-Ohio, but that finish here at Homestead-Miami, that last lap pass by your teammate, Ian Boss, what was that like?
It was unbelievable. That was actually like, you know, it was my second race in Grand Am, and it was really hard to sit there and watch my teammate go around while I'm sitting here and I couldn't do anything. Having that same feeling right now, it's really hard to sit here and not have any control over it, but I have all the trust in the world in Martin Jensen, and I'm really happy to be here with Inside Racing and Continental Tire again.
Yeah, he's hoping to have a good start to the year with his new teammate, Martin Jensen. Brian?
Well, somewhat of a new teammate, but kind of not really. Robin Liddell, Stevenson Motorsports. But Robin, we're not used to seeing you in the Camaro and Continental Tire, but with John Edwards up on the box behind you, kind of laid up with an injury, you step in. How difficult is it to go back and forth from the GT car to the GS car on a weekend, especially under these weather conditions?
Well, it's really not been too hard. I mean, I've done double duty in the past with prototype cars and GT cars, so the Camaro is fundamentally the same, even though we've got a Prep 2 Camaro and GT. But no, I mean, it's actually quite useful. You know, I had a session in the wet this morning in the GT car, and of course, when we started the race here, it was wet, so that was kind of useful. It does have some benefits. I wasn't taxed too heavily at Barber, obviously, which was my first time in the car because I just rode around behind the safety car. But fortunately, I got, you know, at least 30 minutes under green, managed to work our way up to second, and had a good time and brought the car in a decent spot. So it's been a lot of fun.
Matt Bell said he thought that the advantage for you guys would actually be the wet this weekend. As it's dried and the ladder going here, Matt, have a good car or a handful?
Well, no, the car's not too bad. We've got some push through the banking, but it seems right now like the Porsche's in a league of its own, and we just don't have enough for those guys.
Well, we're about to find out if Matt can move forward. We're heading back to Greenlee.
We certainly are. Yes, John Edwards is healthy. He's ready, and we'll see John Edwards back at New Jersey Motorsports Park next time out.
Oh, look at this.
Ready to go.
Stacked them up big time.
So that car 78 is not on the lead lap. That Mustang is not for position. First and second are separated by that car. Let's go racing. Look at Oberlin trying to get by on Dave Empringham in that BMW. Couldn't quite do it.
He had a good run on him there, but Empringham couldn't brake on that car in front of him until you hit the stripe. That's one of the rules. You got to stay in line. So he was really caught between a rock and a hard place there. Nice job by David.
He couldn't do a thing other than what he did do, and that was pretty good. I was going to say right now, Matt Plum has one more car to worry about that he wasn't thinking about, and that is probably David Empringham in a light Porsche.
Don't count out this Subaru either. I mean, if Andrew Akalani can get by Billy Johnson, I think he's got a bit more pace than him. He may attack those other guys in front of him for a podium run.
And don't count out any more rain either, because there's a big old nasty cloud hanging around back turn 1 down there.
Charles Espenlaub is there. Brian Sellers is there. Boris Said has made good progress. Matt Bell, we were just talking about. And the Aston Martin is there for Multimatic. The third driver in this race is Scott Maxwell, and he's dragged that car just like he did at Barber Motorsports Park a month ago, back up through this field.
Last bullet in that gun, Calvin, that Aston Martin, the last one they have running.
Look at Matt Bell there, looking to the outside of Boris Said, and this is exactly why they put Scott Maxwell in this 71 car as a third driver, to get points in this show. 46 car, big drama here.
I don't know. I think that just blew up. I think we just lost another engine.
Brian Sellers. They had a very tough race at Barber. Brian didn't even get behind the wheel. They were the victim in one of many crashes.
Oh, hearing he lost a transmission back there. He did a good job once he knew he was in trouble of getting out of the way, so he didn't collect anybody with him.
First flying lap, and Matt Plum puts a second and a half between he and Empringham. Here comes Scotty Maxwell.
He had a big run on him there, and Matt Bell went to close the door pretty aggressively. That was tight.
Matt Bell doesn't know what it feels like to crash at that speed, or he wouldn't have done that right there.
Yeah,
that could have been a huge hit.
Nice job by Scotty Maxwell there, trying not to get involved.
I think I'd be loosening him up after that one, though. I tell you.
We'll keep an eye on that 71 Multimatic Aston Martin, because Scott Maxwell said earlier this weekend it's not the power in this car, but it has awesome brakes. And he said that's where we made all of our positions in Alabama.
It's just a sweet car, though, Calvin. It really is. I mean, that car is such a nice-looking piece. They're having some engine difficulties. They're going to have to work their way through that.
Yeah, certainly hasn't been the smoothest weekend for that team. They got the last bullet in their gun right out on the racetrack right now, and that's the one they wanted, though, with Scotty Maxwell. Joe Foster's going to get split with him in points, of course. Joe is not competing here today after problems with a 55, so it'll be Scotty Maxwell really leading the charge in terms of the championship.
That car, the Aston Martin, was the quickest in the first day of practice. When we were practicing on the banking, it was the top dog.
In ST, nothing has changed. Martin, Jensen, Klein, Newbing, Eversley, the top three. Carbonell is making it ever so difficult for Andy Lally to get his 100th podium, because he's overtaken Nick Johnson. He's now in fourth. As we focus on this GS scrap up front, and Billy Johnson is not making life easy for Andrew Aquilante.
You can see him really right up the racetrack there. I think he's struggling a bit with some understeers. These tires get some laps on him, Dorsey.
I looked at that too. The 61 really was bowed over on the right front. It looked like it was leaning hard on that right front, which means it's putting a lot of temperature on that front tire.
That's just going to get worse. The battle in ST, though, is heating up big time. Martin Jensen has the lead, but here comes the 31 of Klein Ubing, looking for his second win of the year.
And Cal, how did he win that first one of the year? It was a beautiful last lap, coming to the line, move, side draft on Nick Johnson. Oh, Matt Bell has gone around. I wonder if there was contact there.
Well, now let me see. What I say a minute ago, the 12 is back out there, and it's limping along the key up the inside there. Let's see what happened here.
Yep, yes, Scotty's in there. And the four-line car's right behind him. Maybe Scotty was getting some help too.
It could have been. He did look like he had somebody right behind him giving a good shove.
No, the help came afterwards. So yeah, Scotty was trying to rough him up a little bit.
Well, I kind of saw that coming.
That takes the Stevenson Camaro out of the mix with just a little over a quarter of an hour left here at Homestead.
Now, the question isn't can you do that, it's can you do that and get away with it. That's the next thing.
That is the big key.
Matt Bell does not have much time to catch up and regain some of those lost positions. Nick Longy, as he and his teammate Matt Plum going back to victory lane. Successive victories, we're very close to finding out. Well, believe it or not, but we are under another full course caution. It's number 7 for the day. We knew it was going to be a little bit of a weird day because of the weather. Well, that has since given us a little bit of respite. However, there are several stranded cars out on the track that Grand Am officials deemed just they were in precarious positions, needed to get rescued so we could have a good, clean finish to this one. With that being said, there's only 9 minutes left in this race, so it's going to be a pretty crazy scramble. Can the Rum Bum Porsche boys do it 2 in a row? Let's find out. Here's Nick Lockey.
Yeah, we're about to find out, because when we go back to green, it's going to be a dash. Nick, you worked your magic early on. Matt's got to work his magic on this restart with Impringham right behind him, 2 Porsches going for it. Notice Matt really stacked everybody up on the last restart.
Yeah, Matt's been doing a fantastic job. I mean, what a great turnaround from yesterday. You know, a little problem in qualifying, starting last. Great conditions for us. I personally just love rain and odd conditions like that. You know, rain, dry, and I can say that this team is just the people. You know, the people in this team. There's nobody that can set up a car for a track like this, an oval combination like Joe Vardy. He's an amazing guy. I love him, and he's probably the main reason he and Lou Bacardi why we're doing as well as we are.
Well, we're going to find out when we go back to green. It may be a team sport, but right now it's all going to be about Matt Plum and what he can do on this restart, Chris.
Yeah, and Matt Plum had the luxury of lap traffic between he and David Empringham on that last caution. Doesn't get that luxury this time. John TC, team owner at BGB, you've been on the radio with David. What have you been telling him?
Actually, Travis and I have been kind of tag teaming him, just telling him to conserve his tires and that he's doing a good job of gapping Bill. And we're just trying to get a long enough green run right now so that we could possibly catch the 13. And, you know, we got close at Barber, and we're just looking for a little redemption for John Ferrano and Dave as they sit in third in the team championship.
You're going to have about 5 or 6 minutes here. Can he get the lead?
I don't know. You know, we're going to find out. But look, this is why it's pretty awesome to be sitting here when you have some of the greatest sports car drivers in the world. Like, you know, I'm looking at David Empringham, Matt Plum, Bill Oberlin, Billy Johnson. You know, look at all of these guys duking it out with all kinds of the coolest cars that ever get to race against each other. So,
good luck.
Porsche on Porsche. It's going to be quite the race to the checkered flag. We are squeezing in one last commercial break. When we come back, we're going to take you to the checkered flag. It is far from over in both classes. What can this man do? Tom Long has stormed through the field. So too has Carbonell. Final minutes, final moments of round 3 of the 2012 Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge Series. This is the Kia 200, and it is being led by Matt Plum in the Rum Bum Porsche, Dave Empringham in the BGB Tower Events Porsche second, Bill Oberlin for Turner Motorsport, Billy Johnson for Roush, Andrew Aquilante for Subaru, and then you pick up Charles Espinlaub for Fall Line, Boris Said for Turner. Scott Maxwell, we have just learned, is going to get a penalty for that contact with Matt Bell.
Yeah, I mean, they're really just drawing a line in the sand now with this contact, Dorsey calling it avoidable contact, and that's pretty much it. It's a stop and go, and I think you then look at the severity by how many seconds. It's just a 5-second hold.
Yeah, it's a tough way to go, but, you know, you can't let it all get out of control, and it would if you didn't have these penalties.
So everybody poised to finish this one. What's going to happen? Martin Jensen is leading in that Insight BMW you saw a moment ago over Pierre Klein-Newbing and Ryan Eversley in ST. And then you've got the first of 2 Freedom Autosport Mazdas. Nick Johnson and Tom Dyer are sandwiched in between Andrew Carbonell and Tom Long. This class is going to be a crazy scrap.
Yeah, I think this is going to get crazy here. I think Klein-Newbing certainly has some sights on victory, as does Eversley. Brian, what are you hearing?
Well, exactly that, and I just checked in with the team, Compass 360 with Ryan Eversley, and they said the problem is they always feel like the brakes on that Honda Civic probably the weakest link, but that's what they're going to need to dive inside on the infield. They're also going to have to rely on some horsepower around this banking, but if anybody can get it done, it's Eversley. He's hungry, and when this flag goes green, keep your eye on ST.
Ready to go. Wait, wait, wait. Green, green, green is the call. Oberlin is right there with Empringham. Johnson in that red Mustang tries to squeeze through, but both of them ran out of time and ground.
Yeah, no one was really line astern there, so it's going to be hard to call any penalties on that one because no one was really lined up to begin with. So I think that saved everyone's day there, right? But look at this. Plum again immediately gaps Empringham. He's really getting the power down. Look at Aquilane really wide there coming through too.
And this is where he's good, Calvin. That little Subaru is really hot right to this first part of the corner. If you could get in front, it would really help the situation.
Look at Billy Johnson. He hides the inside. He recognized that Aquilane had a run on him.
He's got to do that because the Subaru is really strong here on the infield. It's going to come to its weak point up here on the bank.
Right there, he gets the power down mid-corner really well, and he's got him. He got the power down nicely there. Can Billy Johnson come back at him? Aquilani will need to defend that inside line.
Credit to both boys. Good defensive driving from Billy Johnson, and Andrew Aquilante remained patient. So very good professional driving. Johnson pounces at the last moment, but not enough time or ground there to get through.
You know, it's knowing your weaknesses and your strong points and knowing what your oppositions are as well. And that's what you're seeing these two guys do. Now watch that Mustang catch this Subaru on the banking. Nothing you can do about this.
This is the closest Dave Impringham has been to Matt Plum. Porsche versus Porsche. Impringham, the Canadian, is not letting Matt Plum get away. 3 3/4 minutes remain.
Look at that Mustang really comes back strong in the middle part of the straightaway, and then Subaru seems to get its legs a little bit.
How about ST? Martin Jensen still leading Pierre Klein-Newbing. This is going to be close, but Pierre, the Brazilian, we know how good he is, coming to the line like he did at Daytona International Speedway earlier in the year. Look at this, that Speed 3 iMoto machine gaining ground on the BMW.
Not time yet, though. He's using that BMW for a drafting pick, if you will. He knows he's good behind it. It's not time to make the move yet.
Pierre has won multiple World Challenge Championships over the last decade, and he's now really starting to show some strong form with this iMoto team. He's in it to win it. He's in it to win this championship. He wants this win here today.
Freedom Autosport is on the podium. We ride with Andrew Carbonell. Great story with this guy. When he was a kid, when he was a teenager, he used to paint the fences. He used to peel the stickers off. He used to mow the lawn. He used to do everything at this racetrack. And now he stands a chance of standing on the podium here.
He might do better than just stand on the podium, because if these two in front of him make one little problem, if they hit side by side, if Klein-Newbing gets into the side and even loses any momentum, he'll be right there.
Jensen's doing a great job. He has a lot of experience in this type of car. And right now he's got his opportunity with this team to get a victory here today. Doesn't want to let it go.
Time and laps running out. Up front, you haven't missed a thing. Plum still has a nice advantage over Dave Impringham. About a second and a half at this stage. Orblin maintains third. Aquilante fourth and Johnson fifth.
Of course, you're riding with the series champion. Nick Johnson in the Kia is really not that far out of it either.
No, he's looking at points, though, Dorsey. He knows that the Bimmer World car had some problems today. He will take the points lead with a top 5 finish like he's sitting.
It has been a really devastating blow to Bimmerworld. All 3 cars out of this race. It's been a massive attrition rate. We've lost just under 20 cars, so for various reasons. Look at Aquilante in that Subaru on Billy Orblin.
And Oberlin pushed him right to the limit, but not off the racetrack, I should mention.
Yeah, absolutely. Gave him a little bit of room. Billy's going to try and go around the outside, but this is where that Subaru's good. Right there, when everyone else is floating the car, trying to get the power down, it just takes off with that all-wheel drive system.
You're sitting duck on the infield of that Subaru right now, I can tell you that.
That was for the final step on the podium in Grand Sport. We've just got the word they are coming to the white flag. They'll be showing the white flag next time by. 1 lap remains here at Homestead-Miami Speedway.
Aquilani really sits out there for that turning point a long time. We've got some issues here, the 131 and one of the little minis.
Yeah, the first time we've seen a Mini and an Audi come together today.
Yeah. They got hooked together and went off together into the tire wall.
Aquilani really leaves the door wide open to the last minute there on that infield section, but here comes Plum.
Car unstoppable. One more circuit around.
1 to go, and he's got a very comfortable margin of just under 2 seconds. Remember, this is huge. Home race for Rumbum. For Dave Impringham and John Ferrano, it'll be their first podium together. And for Aquilante, well, Billy Orblin in that Turner BMW is not just going to hand it to him.
No, he isn't. Remember, Billy Orblin and Dallalana, they came first in GT in the Rolex Series and first in GS last year here at Homestead. They have happy memories of this racetrack, but today they may not see the podium.
Martin Jensen just took the ST lead under the 1 lap to go flag. He looks like he's got a handy lead right now.
That'll be Insight's first win too. That'll be huge for those guys. So final lap, we're on our way home. Positions not confirmed yet in either class, but you can see it's a lot more comfortable here in GS than it is in ST. The scrap continues.
Just dominant performance by the Rumbum team. I mean, they showed it in qualifying, and then from the back of the pack to the front, and then no one could really touch them today.
Mini in the ways out of it, drops down, gets out of everybody's way. It's running slow.
Out onto the back straight for the final time. NASCAR 3 here at NASCAR's championship track.
Race is going to be for third, really, whether or not the Subaru can hold off the speed.
of the BMW.
Lou Bacardi, the team owner, is here. He resides in Miami. What about this for Joe Vardy? And for the Rum Bum drivers, they do it. 2 in a row for that man there, Nick Longy and Matt Plum. Superb performance from last in class to first in class and overall. And for this team here, the Insight BMW team, wow, new driver combination. And they're going to drive it all the way to victory lane where they believe they should have been a month ago at Barber.
That's right, they were so close to victory there. And for Ryan Ellis, could it be 2 in a row?
He won last year for APR and a VW in dramatic circumstances. He's going to do it here with Jensen. Superb. And the Insight Racing guys thoroughly deserve that. 2 in a row in 2 different cars, 2 different teams for Ryan Ellis. There's our overall victors, Matt Plum and Nick Longy, and they've drawn the line in the sand, Dorse. We are the team to be beaten.
They are indeed, and you can see right behind them the fact that Aquilani did in fact hold off Bill Oberlin. The Subaru makes it to the podium in 3rd.
And that is a season best result for that Subaru WRX. First time we've seen it on the podium in Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge Series competition. That will give the team a big sigh of relief. Well, an interesting day here in southern Florida at Homestead-Miami Speedway, and we're getting used to seeing this. Rum Bum celebrating. Let's go and hear from the boys.
Matt Plum climbing out of the car, getting the celebratory hug from Nick. And Nick, we talked to you earlier. You're the one that started this event in very difficult conditions. Lee Diffie used the term dominant. Did it feel like you guys were dominating, or was it a lot of work?
It was a lot of work. I wouldn't say dominant as much as just trying to really be careful and make the right moves. Everybody cooperated in traffic. It was really, really good. The car was fantastic. I want to say again, the team, Joe Vardy, nobody has figured this out like Joe Vardy. The car was fantastic. Thanks to Lou Bacardi and this guy here who had all the heavy lifting to do for quite a long time.
Yeah, Matt, I think you had it figured out at the end for sure, but that last full course caution, when you saw that flag come out and you saw Impringham there with that Porsche right behind you, bring some concern?
Well, I mean, I knew it wasn't going to be easy no matter who was behind me. I mean, the BMW is quick. I mean, the conditions were changing the whole time. I can't say enough about this car. Every time I feel so lucky to be here often. And Louis Bacardi, thanks for having us here. I'm so glad that we got to do this in front of his home fans. You know, all the sponsors, Continental Tire, AST Shocks. I mean, this car was perfect.
Congratulations, they were perfect in GS. Now let's go to ST and Chris.
And Ryan Ellis grabbed the win here last year at Homestead-Miami Speedway. He gets the win in ST again this year. Martin, that last caution, you had 4-time World Challenge champion Pierre Klein, I mean, right on your tail, but you put your head down and you just drove away.
Yeah, you know what, these Continental tires that just lasted. I was so fortunate that every time I could get the first lap going, due to traffic on the TS car, I could kind of keep the distance. So I just hauled, as much as I could the last 3 laps. I mean, I gave it completely everything I had. Finally, it paid off. Inside Racing, what an honor. I mean, this has just been a up and down ride, but finally we got the peak.
And Ryan, I was watching you chew on your fingernails there. Anything left on those fingernails?
I doubt it, but we'll find out in 2 weeks in New Jersey. We're going to hope to repeat, and I think we can do it there.
Good job, guys.
Really nice run for both teams in trying conditions here in Miami, that's for sure. Let's check the results for you. And we start with the Grand Sport class, and let's highlight some of the others, like Ferrano and Empringham, their first podium together as a duo. The first podium for the Subaru. Those guys hadn't finished inside the top 20 until today.
They're going to their home track when they go to New Jersey. They got momentum behind them. They look for good stuff.
And Turner and Roush finishing inside the top 5, which was a solid performance. Let's switch gears. Cal, let's take a look at ST. We know that the Insight Racing boys did very nicely, grabbing their victory. And second in class, Pierre Klein-Newbing for iMoto, and then Freedom Autosport getting their boys, well, one set of those guys on the podium.
Yeah, 2 of their cars in the top 6, Lally and Johnson. Great points there. They'll take the championship lead tonight with the problems with the Bimmerworld boys. So I think that was the big shocker today in this class. Bimmerworld not finishing with all 3 of their cars.
Burton Racing BMW in 8th. That's solid there for Terry Borchella and Lamara. Good drive there. Speaking of good drives, what about the boys who finished runner-up?
Lee John Ferrano, David Impringham, another Porsche. And David, you were in the car at the end, And while Matt Plum didn't want to see that last full score caution, I feel certain that you did. Did you think you had anything for him?
Well, I was just trying to pressure him to make a mistake. He was, I think he was a little bit stronger than us in the oval, but anything can happen. On the last lap, he locked up his brakes into the hairpin, and I thought I might get lucky. But all in all, it was a great day for us, for BGB Racing, for Tower Events. Got to thank John here. He did a great job, and I'm just happy to be on the podium again.
And another great Grand Sport battle all the way to the checkered flag, Chris.
Well, Pierre Klein on the podium for the second time this year. And Pierre, you're third in the championship. After that wreck at Barber, were you thinking championship today, or were you thinking win?
Oh, always thinking win. You know, we want to win so bad for Mazda. They've been supporting iMoto for so long, and we had to win. You know, thank God we had this Continental tires on today. Unbelievable. We drove on them for almost 2 hours, and they held on pretty good. So my hat's off to them too.
Well, this iMoto team looking in great shape for this championship.
Yeah, what a way to start the year in those first 3 events to be as strong as they are. They will be contenders all season long. All right, so we sit back, reflect on a mixed weather, mixed race, mixed conditions, big rate of attrition and a lot of cautions. And we had a little bit of everything today.
Yeah, there was, but a much cleaner event than the one at Barber. I think Mark Raffoff got these guys dialed back in, and a lot less carnage today, Dorsey.
They'll bring these cars back, and they'll look primarily at these engine problems we saw today. That's very uncharacteristic of this class. For the guys that have these engine problems, they're going to have to look at that, see what kind of problems, and fix that issue.
Tell you what, though, these boys are going to be tough. I mean, you said it was dominant. They didn't agree down there in victory lane, but I don't see them getting beat. I mean, if they don't step on their own toes throughout the course of this season, that is one strong race car. The team is superb. The drivers are getting the job done. They're going to be awfully
It's
tough.
like I said before, they have everything they need. There's no stone there that's not polished.
There are more of these 2012 Porsches coming in GS as well. There are about 3 being built right now. For Insight Racing, the one that got away at Barber Motorsports Park in Birmingham, Alabama, was delivered today in quality style. So we hope you enjoyed the 3rd round of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge Series. This has been the Kia 200. We have a short break. Next up, New Jersey Motorsports Park, another action-packed circuit, and you'll see more of the same. It's one of the best racing championships in the world. Glad you could watch Sports Cars on Speed.